Hello and welcome again to You Are Gorgeous. Today is all about hats. Are you one of these people who loves a hat? Are you one of these people who's not into hats? Or are you one of these people who, like a lot of my clients, seems to treat buying a hat or thinking they need to wear a hat like akin to a trip to the dentist? Well, just for starters, I'm one of these people who just adores hats. I've always liked hats. I am very rarely seen out without a hat. I remember years ago when I lived in London, before the days of the mobile phones, I was sitting waiting for a friend in a restaurant and she was late, and the waiter came over to me and said, "You must be Janet." And I said, "Well, how do you know?" And he said, "Oh, your friend has just called and she said, could you find my friend Janet and tell her that I'm going to be half an hour late?" And I said, "How will I recognise Janet?" She said, "Oh, she's bound to be in a hat." So that's me. I am a hat person. So this is more for people who, well, you can watch it anyway if you like hats, but if you struggle to find a hat or a hat that suits you or how to wear a hat, you might enjoy this short video. So as I say, I get clients popping in to see me in my studio with laments such as, "Oh, I'm going to a wedding, I need to find a hat." And the first thing they would think was they needed to wear one of these big picture hats. Well, you don't necessarily. You can do that if you want, but you can take any hat and wear it quirkily or adorn it with something, add a ribbon, add a bow, add whatever you want to an everyday hat to make it worthy of going to a wedding. But just starting here with a very normal hat, I'll show you the difference it makes worn properly or not properly. And really there is no proper and improper, but we all want to look our best. So let's just cast our mind back to the old movies, and it was mainly men, and you'd see them in hats and they would put them on in a certain way. So we think about Cary Grant, we think about James Stewart, and in modern days we maybe think about Timothy Oliphant. If you've seen him in Deadwood or Justified, you will know that he just looks divine in a hat. But what's common to it all is they put the hat on a certain way. They tend to pick the hat up like this, sort of holding on to this front bit here. I'm sure it's got a name, I don't know what it is. And they sort of put it on forward and slightly to the side. And they sort of, as they're walking along, they don't look in a mirror, they just know that if they do that and twist it slightly to the side, it looks right. It looks the most hat-like, the most hatty, flattering-y like. But conversely, and it was normally with the ladies who didn't like hats, they'd come in and they'd say, "Oh, I can't find a hat that suits me." And I'd say, "Well, look, here's a hat." "Oh, I don't like the hat, I don't like the colour." So look, it doesn't matter at this point, just pop the hat on and let's see. Of course, I had probably cunningly chosen the one in the shop that would most suit them, and this is what they would do. As they were putting it on, they were complaining, no, I don't like hats, hats don't suit me." And honestly, I'm not exaggerating, they would do that. They'd pop it sort of going backwards on their head, or they'd plonk it right there at the front, and that was it. So you can imagine, you take the same hat, which you've just seen worn like that. I haven't got a mirror, so I'm just sort of guessing, but I'm sort of used to putting it on. Forward and slightly to one side. You plonk it there, or you plonk it on the back. So can you see the difference? So when you are trying on a hat, I even feel uncomfortable sitting like that. So you don't have to do it like that. You can sort of do it that way, but it just seems that holding this type of hat there and putting it slightly forward and to the side has the best effect. So, you know, you can be a rebel. You don't have to wear a hat to a wedding if you don't want to. Let me give you an example. You can just take something like this, which is like a mini bowler hat with, can you see it, with a little bit of lace and feather, and pop that on and say, "Yes, I'm wearing a hat. You asked me to wear a hat, you didn't say what size hat." Of course, you know, nobody's going to judge you or say you should have worn a proper hat. Unless, of course, you know, it's the wedding of Bridezilla, and I have known a few of those, but hey, you've got to feel good. If you feel good, you look good. If you look good, you feel good. So then we talk about scale. A lot of people, and I know I'm talking about weddings, but that seemed to be the subject that came up the most with me. It was when people felt they had to wear a hat, and it was always to do with the wedding. And then they'd always presume that it had to be one of these great big picture hats. And no, not really. I mean, there's no really such rules. The hat police aren't going to come and arrest you, although in this nanny state maybe it wouldn't surprise me these days. But for the demonstration, here is probably about I'm 5'6". This is probably, and I know I'm not standing up so you can't see the full effect, but this is probably about the biggest size hat that I would get away with. Okay, and probably this hat is getting to be a bit small for me, but I love it, but you'll just see what I mean. Again, if I put it on there, it looks terrible. Put it there, it looks terrible. If I put it slightly forward and to the side, it looks a lot better. I mean, this is just an everyday hat. But of course you could add something, you could add a feather, you could add a flower, you could do anything, or you might just be going with a sort of Bugsy Malone type look, and then you don't need anything. You just wear it, or even with your tailcoat or whatever you want to wear it with. There's no rules, there really aren't. Now I'm thinking, what hats have I left out that might be disappointed? Of course, if a hat hasn't got a brim or anything, then you don't have to worry about the positioning quite so much. You just sort of put it on. Again, it probably wouldn't look so good put straight back, but it's not. They tend to look better put straight, not so much to one side. I love that hat. If you've got long hair, this type of hat or a beanie always tends to look better with your hair behind your ears, and then that looks absolutely fabulous. So we got interrupted there. I apologise, the postman turned up. So I think I was saying, if you have long hair and you wear a beanie or this sort of hat, it tends to really look lovely if you just pop your hair behind your ears. It doesn't tend to look right with the hair coming down. So there you go, there is a hat for everybody. You don't have to wear a hat if you don't want to. You know, if you're not comfortable in a hat, you won't feel right, you probably won't look right, but I think if you found the right hat, you will love wearing it. And whatever hat you find, wear it with attitude. Oh, that was terrible. Oh dearie me. Groan, groan, groan. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you soon. Goodbye, gorgeous. Mwah.